we're not special, and that's good news. Welcome back to the channel. Tune in or ghost out. With the introduction of human consciousness, it feels like people have been walking around with a spotlight over their head at all times. This spotlight tracks us throughout our life and really likes to zoom in on the mistakes that we make. It never lets us forget the cringe-inducing moments, the weird comments, the awkward silences, that one time you ripped a ridiculously loud fart while doing stretches in 8th grade PE. In these moments, we question the longevity of our reputation. Will I ever get past these moments? Does everybody recognize my flaws as easily as I do? And is it too late to drop out of 8th grade and move states? Only to realize no one really cares because they're too busy not trying to fuck up either. The sooner you learn this and start using it to your advantage, the faster you reclaim your life. It is no secret that humans are very selfish creatures at times. And while this may be viewed as a bad thing, I think it's just our natural disposition as creatures on a planet trying to survive, especially when you take into consideration a lot of us are single and even lonely. But this overcritical consciousness that we've developed in our minds is actually doing the exact opposite. It's hypercritical to the point that it tries to temper down the human body it's in hopes that it can blend in with the society around it, causing you to be more timid and more excluded than you really would like to be. You could be in a room full of people, but the only thing you can focus on is how you're breathing, how you're standing, if you're staring at somebody for too long, or if you're reading all the right social cues, turning simple interaction into a calculus problem. But the sooner you realize that this is not a you thing, you are not special, and that's the good news, is when you unlock a new level. And I'm not just saying that or trying to sell you a fake theory. I mean, I remember in 8th grade very vividly thinking it was game over. I was so embarrassed by my fart that I started to think that the school was plotting against me. I started asking questions like, why would they schedule me to have PE after lunch? Even got mad at myself, and I told myself that I could have held it in or just clenched a little bit harder to hold it in until I finished the plank. And honestly, for a week or so, it kind of lingered. The embarrassment, that is, not the fart. And people would make, a couple comments. A lot of the jokes mainly came from my friends, of the incident. They would keep referring back to it. But, those are your friends. That's what they're supposed to do. But overall, nobody really cared. Nobody brought it up, but it weighed on my mental more than anything did in 8th grade. And not even a week later, some other kid fell victim to the same trials and tribulations that I faced. And as we were doing sit-ups, ripped a louder fart than me, and now he was the butt of the joke. The thing about moments like this are they really don't matter in the long run. They don't even matter in the short term, but they do something to your brain that sets up a reoccurring loop. Our brains are great with connecting things together, whether they make sense or they don't. And it knows what it likes and it knows what it wants to avoid. And on the top of the list on things to avoid is embarrassment. There's a lot of other things there like, failure, heartbreak, the things that the body and the mind generally want to avoid. The thing about embarrassment though is that it's actually nightmare fuel. Like it fuels your nightmares. It fuels the things that you don't like. So again, when I was in 8th grade, I didn't realize that gym class moment was gonna have me overthink every other social moment in my life as well. Because it didn't just stop or start with the 8th grade moment, That's like one in a big ass book of mistakes and stumbles I've had. And because of that, my mind kind of put a golden dome over itself. Instead of pondering and learning from all the good that I was doing in my life at those times, it learned to ruminate in my mistakes to try to avoid them for the future. And when you try to avoid something, you've already lost the game. Especially in a time where we function in what looks like a social society, but everything about it has antisocial tendencies, meaning you have more social currency to lose talking to someone than staying silent. And this becomes even more true, as you lose friends, maybe go through a heartbreak, and just many other things that life will throw at you. If you attach situations to emotions and try to avoid those certain emotions, then you're just gonna have to avoid the situation in general. And embarrassment gets kind of like lessened, people joke around about it, like, why am I up at 3 a.m. wondering what I did 10 years ago? And then that's when you realize, oh yeah, it's because I'm a human and my brain literally runs off survival through pattern recognition. Unlike AI, we're still on the base hardware. There's no updates coming to our brains. We are the GameCube of thinking, And not like the NES, because I feel the NES is probably like cavemen, but we're not on adaptive technology. Our brains are not meant to adapt to every single mistake that we make. Some they can learn off of for sure, but at a certain point, you're putting up more barriers than bandages, if that makes sense. And after you recognize so many patterns, there's more lessons to learn in the failure itself than the avoidance of it. Everybody's brain operates in a way that wants to protect themselves and their sense of sanity. And the image that they have of themselves, the spotlight that they carry around. And while this may have been good at a certain time, may have kept us alive, in the modern day, it's holding you down. When everyday people are trying to mimic their AI assistants or use them to replace the need for them to even participate in this world, a person that is willing to make mistakes is going to be empowered to move further in life. And I think that's the beauty of times like this. There's no better time than the current to do something that you want to do, because no one's paying attention. They're worrying about AI bubbles popping. They're worrying about stocks crashing. We're talking about a million other things. And if you just went ahead and did the thing that you want to do, by the time the people around you pick their heads up to notice that you're actually doing something new, you would have already scaled it up to a certain size. And I don't say it to discourage you, but that's the thing. We're not special. Everybody is trying to do what they can to find success, and everybody's on their path. And because of that, nobody is focusing on you. So instead of being, maybe discouraged by that, embrace it. Turn off your spotlight and make your mistakes, because when other people actually turn the spotlight and put it on you, you'll have something to show for it. You didn't get discouraged and quit. You actually locked in a productive way. You made mistakes. You failed a couple times. You even embarrassed yourself, but you didn't avoid. You actually conquered. People hate this word, but you ascended. You took a situation that could have been masked with a lot of low vibration energy like shame. And I've talked about shame maxing and how that can keep you down in the long run. But if you're able to learn from shame, it can actually progress you further than a lot of things. But it's very dangerous, because some people get stuck in that moment and they never get past it. But when you realize that nobody cares or has an attention span and won't remember what you did in probably an hour, it makes moving through life a lot easier, because you're not so stressed about it all the time. If I could go back in 8th grade as myself, I would tell myself not to care, and I probably would fart again just to prove that I didn't care. If you asked me who I hang out with from 8th grade, I couldn't tell you. And if you asked them what I did in 8th grade PE, 95 of them probably couldn't tell you. But for a large part of my early adulthood, those small moments define me so much. And I know it might be dramatic, but if I could give any piece of advice to younger people that watch this video, or even people my age, I'm currently 28, you have like two choices in life, right? You can preserve the image of who you think you are, or you can build towards the image of who you want to become. Most people live trying to protect an identity, but growth doesn't happen in protection. It happens in exposure. You don't need to be flawless. You just need to be willing, because the world isn't studying you. The spotlight is not turned on. It's busy focused on itself. So don't forget that we're not special, and that's what makes it safe to become something more. But again, man, what do I know? Just unemployed guy playing Call of Duty, sharing my opinion. If you agree or disagree, let me know down below in the comments. What are some embarrassing things that have still plagued you to this day? What helps you move on? And if you haven't already, like and subscribe to join the thread. And with that being said, thank you for tuning in. Until next time.